current punya teknologi phone tu kan, orang boleh chat, no more camera.
Yeah, true. Whoever thought the technology of film reel tu will disappear from our ini kan planet.
Betul.
And now it's only digital films kan.
Okay, now kita dah basically Mr. Haris, kita ada lebih kurang 550 pelajar yang akan join petang ni, sepatutnya lah. Pagi tadi pun ada about that lah, 560 to 550. Yeah.
I'm sure they're all excited the last part of the day ni lah, 2 PM sebab aviation.
Dia macam ni, Mr. Haris, dia make it light and easy. Maknanya more to, pasal dia orang ni kan masih ialah final year, masih macam mana nak adapt mechanical engineering, what's aviation punya business yang boleh masuk ke dalam engineering. Mungkin itu je lah bagi dia big pictures.
Sure. I've got a lot of engineers who's a pilot today.
Yes.
So that's how it is in my career in Singapore Airlines. My engineers actually became pilot and captain.
But it's quite cost untuk jadi pilot, about 100k is it?
Yeah, today is cheap. Tapi kalau nak lebih easy for qualification, apply untuk masuk cadet lah, cadet MAS, cadet SIA. Just look out. Dulu kalau zaman kita kena beli surat khabar hari-hari. So sekarang it's only at the finger kan.
Senang.
The touch of the finger dah senang, dah boleh dapat latest info. I think with the commercial airline coming back, there will be a huge demand for pilot. Dah mula ada pilot shortage ni because all the aircraft is going to come back. So hiring will start actually. Before hiring start, flying academy kena start training dulu. So I think they will start to do cadet program. AirAsia pun ada cadet program. If we want to look for something more I would say more reputable outside of Malaysia, Emirates, Qatar, Etihad, these are reputable ones. Usually kalau tak silap saya, sign on untuk 5 tahun.
Okay. In your opinion,
sign on
based on you punya experience, which one the best? Mana tahu kau anak I malas belajar kan, I nak campak masuk cadet.
Kalau saya sebut ni macam bias pula. Kalau saya sebut ni, I would say Singapore Airlines lah the best.
Untuk maknanya for the training lah for cadets.
Yeah, because I must later I will share with the rest of the future engineers lah, because I'm a product of Singapore Airlines lah. I'm a Malaysian. I'm not a Singaporean. But I'm a proud to be Malaysian, and but I think I have spent 10 years in my career in Singapore. The word that we always use is I have survived lah. I have survived 10 years in Singapore.
Okay, now almost 230. 3 more minutes to go.
Sure.
Hello, afternoon, Cik Haris. Thank you so much.
Afternoon, Doctor.
For accepting our invitation. And
You're most welcome. Thank you for having me here.
Okay.
I was just warming up with Dr. Baru sembang pasal aviation future.
Yeah, Dr. Ali. Dr. Ali is the one who organised this session daripada pagi. Okay. So I think this year kita nak tukar sikit Dr. Ali. Kita tambah pula tukar-tukar.
Kita bagi peluang kepada pelajar-pelajar kita lebih
yeah. To have a different view lah. Like last year, this in the morning we had someone from TNB and Petronas kan, Dr. Ali?
TNB dengan MMC.
MMC.
Business.
So last semester, I think we have from Prasarana.
Betul.
Last year.
KTMB.
KTMB. So now we change lah. This semester, this year, kita ada from aviation pula. So we try lah maybe so the student can have a different perspective. in how to be an engineer, and then also not necessarily they have to be hands-on engineer, but they might also be as a future leader lah, manager dan sebagainya.
That's true. Aviation is a wide industry. I believe
Yes.
Dr. Maslina will have her book of shares about aviation. And it's very interesting. So I will just share some of my experience nanti lah, so that it can be a guide for the future generation to see how you can be, they can be able to look at aviation as one of their prospect.
Yes.
Yeah, career prospect. Yes. Yeah.
Okay. Because the problem is with aviation because of the high standard of regulation. So
Betul.
not many people can have easy access to go into the industry, and then the filtration is quite difficult also. Last time lah.
Betul.
Now I'm not so sure how lah, because last time when you said aviation is one of a very niche area. But when the thing is that it's true, macam Cik Haris kata, when we talk about aviation, people only think, okay, pilot, licensed engineer, that's it. But actually, the field of aviation is very broad, very broad.
Yes, it's very broad.
Very broad. So it's quite unfortunate. I know some of the students, when they thought that aviation, when we send them to aviation industry, they thought, oh, I'm going to be an engineer. It's not that easy to be because engineer from university and engineer from the licensed engineer is two different category. So jadi student dia tak boleh kata, oh, I got a degree in mechanical or aeronautical or aerospace engineering, I straight away becomes a licensed engineer. So yes,
Betul.
I think Cik Haris, if I explain, budak mungkin tak percaya lah, but maybe it comes from the horse's mouth. People will have more belief in you because you are currently in the industry. Because I
Yeah,
think sometimes they got confused. They thought, oh, I'm a mechanical engineer, you treated me like this. Okay, I got a degree, why you treat me like this? You don't allow me to do this and all that. But they don't understand that it's a two different entity. Licensed engineer and aeronautical engineer or mechanical engineer or aerospace engineer is not, you are not allowed to touch the aircraft. So that is, I think, the misconception that students have.
I think it's a journey sebenarnya.
Yeah.
It's a journey. I mean, it's a glamorous job. So everybody wants to be able to put a signature to the aircraft.
Yeah.
That's how I used to train my people in Singapore dulu lah. I cakap, it doesn't mean you come to work, you're interviewed, besok you dapat uniform, masuk you dah boleh pegang kapal. No.
Yes, that's true.
It takes a long way before, because we are carrying 300, 400 lives every day, every aircraft. So there's a lot of responsibility comes in.
Yes. So that is not the same as okay, if you work in a power plant or in TNB and all that, you become okay, I'm a mechanical engineer or I work in the construction. They send you to site and then you start to measure here, test that, but not in aviation. So you must go to a complete different documentation and all that. So I noticed I got a lot of complaint from people who would take our student, that our students are very demanding. So I hope you can explain today that aviation is a different field. You don't think that you are a graduate with 4 years and then after that you can use the spana and go and, like you said, sign and off, So that is not an issue. So people don't really understand. I don't blame them because they are not been exposed.
Correct.
So sometimes it's a different ball game as an engineer in the aviation industry.
Yeah, it's a highly regulated industry.
Yes.
That's why someone like a fresh candidate holds a spana and goes to the engine, someone else has to be responsible for them. So if anything goes wrong, that particular person has to be responsible. They can be prosecuted under the law. So under the CAM, Civil Aviation Act. So that's how it is. It's very highly regulated. I was just speaking dengan Dr. Ali tadi, saying it's a very highly regulated industry. It's a reason why it's highly regulated. because the cost of the aircraft is millions of dollars.
Yes.
The lives that we carry worth the money cannot buy.
Yeah.
It worth a lot. So it's really a precious industry. But if we have the patience and passion, kesabaran, I believe we can travel to the world. Yes.
Yes. Agreed.
And this is one industry that pays in equivalent to US dollar. If you
Mhm.
travel out with the experience, and you can actually be earning a foreign currency and be able to grow your the CV and your capabilities. And you rightfully mentioned, Doctor, that don't just look at it from the scope of engineering. Aviation
Yes.
is wide.
It's wide.
Um,
Yeah. It's
Commercial, technical.
technical.
Um, there's a lot of hands behind the scene that makes
Yeah.
an aviation that we do not know today.
Yeah.
So there are a lot of heroes there that actually make one aircraft take off that kita don't even mention. We always look at stewardess dengan pilot je.
Yes, it's true. And engineer on the field. But yeah, orang kata the prop man tu lagi banyak daripada the actor. The actor. Okay.
Yeah.
I think we also have quite a number of students already. Most of them are eager already. So some of them already also on their video. So I guess Dr. Ali, shall we?
Yeah, we already have 440 about that.
Okay,
So
Alhamdulillah.
I pass the floor to is it Dr. Wan or Dr. Nick?
I told last night we had a discussion with Dr. Nick. I said I'll take up the entire
Okay,
thing
so
because
I pass the floor to Dr. Wan. Mr. Haris, please enjoy
okay,
Thank you,
the
Doctor.
sessions.
thank you.
Don't stress.
Encik Harith been calling me. He was stressed. Who are they? You know, how do I address them and all that.
Relax and easy sessions.
This is
Okay, the
okay.
floor is
Okay.
yours, Dr. Wan.
Okay then, thank you. Assalamualaikum. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. And very good afternoon. I really appreciate your attendance. I know today has been a long day, but I love your spirit. All of you are already putting on your video. Okay, my name is Dr. Wan Mazlina Muhammad. I know Encik Haris because we are in the same group of uh, in aviation association group. Okay, like I said, how I get to know Encik Haris is because previously I was working as an aircraft engineer with Airport Sdn Bhd. Okay, now I'm working with UITM. Okay, without further ado, let me have a brief introduction about Encik Muhammad Haris. Okay, Encik Muhammad Haris currently is working with Subang Sky Park, Sdn Bhd. So I think most of you know where Subang Sky Park is. I think some of you also arrived from either from Sabah, Sarawak, Penang, Johor at Subang. So I'm sure Subang Sky Park is not unfamiliar to you. Okay, he started with Subang Sky Park in 2019. Okay, but he has a very interesting. Dr. Ali, can you check if there is some interference? Dr. Ali, is it okay?
Ya, saya tengah cari.
Okay.
Boleh yang tak bercakap tolong mutekan you punya mic. Thank you.
Okay, the moment. Okay, dear student, can you unmute, mute your mic, please? Okay, thank you. Thank you so much. Okay, let me go again. All right. Okay, so Encik Haris has a very wide education background. Okay, he has a course in okay, you are from Johor, Cik Haris? Johor, you have Sekolah Tinggi Keluang Johor, so perhaps you have some alumni here also. Sekolah Menengah Rendah Mengkibul and Sekolah Tengku Mahmud Keluang, and you have Stanford College Eastern Learning. Okay, you already have attended with Airline Revenue Management, which is very Certificate of Harvard Managemental, MBA in Logistics and Management. This one, Encik Haris, we will talk later about Logistic Management ni nanti. Travel and Tours Enhancement Course, IATA Station Management Certification, KLM Royal Dutch Airline, Cobalt System, and Northwest Security. So just now, Encik Haris already mentioned he started in 1989 working in Changi Airport. And then after that, he moved to cargo as an airport operation manager, air operation manager. in 2001. And then in 2003, he joined Harrier Air Sdn Bhd in Glamary. And in 2004, he's an Air Partners Sdn Bhd. 2005, he's a senior manager with Senai Airport. 2015, he's with Malindo, general manager in commercial department. 2016, he's with Subang Sky Park. Until now, you have changed to this is Subang Sky Park, Malindo, Sdn Bhd. And then after that, in 2019, he's the general manager of Subang Sky Park, Sdn Bhd. So without further ado, Cik Haris, we pass the platform to you. We hope the future engineers, like Cik Haris mentioned, the future engineers will enjoy Cik Haris' presentation. And Cik Haris, you don't mind if they interrupt, or you prefer to present first, and then after that they can ask questions. They can ask questions in the chat box too.
Thank you, Doctor. I would prefer if there's any question, you can just always stop me if there's any question that pertaining to us, or we can also do it towards the end of the session. Doctor, if you allow me, do we want to start with the corporate video, or shall I proceed with the slide and then we end with the corporate video, which is suitable?
Yeah, it's up to you which one you feel more comfortable in.
Okay, I think if you may allow, I think let's start with the corporate video. Let all of them get a bit of adrenaline rush ticket.
Yes, yeah,
So then this is 2 o'clock. It's a challenge for me to keep everyone awake
yeah, okay.
after lunch. So probably we start with our corporate video. I think the future engineers can enjoy the video for a while with popcorn and Pepsi.
Okay, okay, all right then.
Doctor, would you mind playing the video tak yang link
Oh,
tu?
you want me to play the video also? Oh, alamak. Hold on, okay. Okay, hold on, sorry.
Okay. Meantime, Doctor, you tengah loading. Let me introduce myself. Assalamualaikum, everyone. Thank you so much, Doctor Ali and Dr. Mazlina, for their warm introduction and for having me here today. I am greatly pleased, honored, and fortunate to be able to speak to the future engineers, I was told. The numbers are about 500 over here. I can't see it on the screen. I can't see all of you on the screen, but I believe all of you can see me from there. Welcome, and I must say welcome to aviation. Okay, this 2 o'clock session will be very challenging. As I was saying, I need to keep it as much as alive that all of us will be awake in this hot afternoon. Allow me to carry this session in English. I did mention the reason I want to do it in English is because it's aviation. Certain syllables, certain word is best to be carried in English. However, jika ada sebarang soalan and anything that you are keen to ask, you can proceed to ask anytime in Bahasa or in English. I'll be more than happy to answer. In fact, before the start of the session, saya dah masukkan email address saya dalam chat box tadi. So should any of the students has any questions, anything that you want to find out or even want to know, feel free to email me. Even in the future, you can post your CVs to me. I'll be more than happy to look at it and even refer to anywhere that's potential. So yeah, sorry, Doctor, we good for the video?
Yes.
Okay, great.
I show the screen. All right. I'm sharing the screen. Okay. Can you hear the voice or the?
Doctor, is there a music? The background music is not appearing.
You can hear the music?
No, I can't. I don't know about the others. Saya tak dapat dengar.
I have to. I have to start again, I guess.
Sure.
because I had to use because just now I was using mic when I take out, then apa nama you can't hear I'm using Apple, so sometimes a bit weird with Apple. This is one thing about technology is these are the issues with technologies.
In the meantime, okay, boleh Doktor.
I try to.
Okay.
Okay, this one works. Can you hear?
Yeah, I think I heard some start tadi lepas, but I can't see the screen pula.
Can you see the screen or not?
Yes, I can see. I don't know about the others, but I can see the screen tapi tak ada background music.
Oh, tak ada background music. Because, yeah.
Okay, good.
Minta maaf doktor, still tak dengar suara.
Tak dengar. Dia tak tahu nak buat apa.
Screen boleh nampak tapi suara tak dengar.
Dia tak ada suara. Dia tak ada suara, cuma nak share link.
Patut share
Atas tu ada.
tab kot, bukan share screen.
Sorry, back to you. Sorry, I apologize for there's no voice because
All right. So okay, I think I'd like to apologize as well. I think there was some disruption. We could see the screen, but there wasn't any background voice and music.
sorry.
Introduction of services. On the short, that was a corporate video of Subang Sky Park, the facilities where we operate from in Subang. It's the second airport, as mentioned by Doctor. No introduction needed. This is where all the private jet, business aviation, MRO, maintenance, repair, overhaul activities are carried out. for business jets, international jets, local jets, Premier One jets, even TUDM, etc. Being handled from this location. Yeah. Allow me to just skip from the video and give you a bit of introduction about myself to start with. I've already introduced my name, and to recap where Dr. Mazlina earlier just touched on my background. I started my career, I'm a Malaysian from Johor. I started my career with Singapore Airlines in Singapore. I joined Changi Airport as a Civil Aviation Authority of Singapore as a management trainee. That's how my career starts. I was in Singapore, Changi Airport for 10 years and attached to Singapore Airlines, actually 10 years. And I have been posted to many countries outside of Singapore. Some of the places that I was posted to was African continent, Australia, Southeast Asia, Europe, US, Middle East. The only part that I left out was India, China, and some part of Russia. So those were the posting. This is when I was from the 1990 right up to year 2000. Just to give you a bit of background, why I have to mention this is just like all of you, when I went into aviation, I wasn't seeing much in aviation either. I was just looking at it just as a job for me to retain on, and I didn't see it as a career prospect yet. But after I completed my management trainee program with Singapore, and I was then enrolled to other courses while I was working, then I begin to see the future in aviation is a lot more than what we think. To the sorry. To the benefit of all of us here today, we always see aviation as an aspect of where an aircraft taking off and landing, where we carrying passengers and cargo, where the job is very glamorous and sustainable. We always look at envying the job that pilot does, the engineer does, the in-flight cabin served by the stewardess and steward. Actually, the scope of aviation is a lot wider than just that three segment that I've just mentioned. The segments where preparation of flight is a lot more tedious than actually the physical flight taking off from the airport. When you see the aircraft is being pushed out from the aero bridge for departure, the pre-preparation is including the security, the fuel uplift, the route planning, the route navigation, load planning and balancing, which is a lot more tedious work, which I call the heroes behind the scene, which is always not mentioned and not seen on the aviation front, because the limelight is always taken by the highest scope, where is sitting behind the cockpit and flying the aircraft, or when you're physically in the plane. And post-flight, when the aircraft land, to discharge the cargo, to discharge the passenger, discharge everything from the aircraft, replanning again the aircraft, turn around the aircraft. Those are the scope of work that involves thousands and thousands of resources throughout the world in carrying out that job. So it's quite challenging. It's quite tedious job. So why I'm sharing this today with all of you is I would like to take this as a journey for you all to see. Getting into aviation, especially in your field when you have mastered in engineering, may not necessarily be just at the engine, just not below the wings, just not where you are certain to be. Your career does not start and end dekat bahagian fixing, repairing, and rectification work. Actually, it's more than that. We do a lot of designing. We do a lot of modification in aviation from the OEMs. We do a lot of improvement along the years, because we will be able to adapt as a user what is best for our aircraft. Then it's pre-manufactured and supplied to us, because to accommodate to our requirement. For instance, if you know, the lavatory toilet in the cabin of an aircraft is normally designed by a lot of engineers on the ground that involves mechanical, electrical, and as well as aerodynamic studies as well. The reason being, aircraft lavatory in areas like aircraft that flying in Europe is a lot smaller than the aircraft that flying in Asia. So kalau you look at the configuration of aircraft that fly in the European cities atau US, the toilet space is very narrow and limited toilet space because they do not really emphasize so much on the comfort to the passengers because they always look at the short haul flights. But in Asia and Middle East, if you look at Emirates, Singapore Airlines, Malaysia Airlines, all the established airlines, they put a lot of effort in passenger comfort. And who works on all this passenger comfort is actually the engineers behind the scene. There will be a regular feasibility study, due diligence done on how to further improve the cabin size. One, kita reduce the number of seat dalam flight, so we give more leg room, so it's not congested. Two, we create more space for our elderly passengers and disabled. Three, we trying to create a pinpoint point for us to actually hang bassinet for infant. So those are the things that actually works in a modification of an aircraft, which could be exciting in the aspect of working on rectifying an aircraft from the original state when it's being supplied to us. So there are many areas of such that we can look at. I must say some of my friends who are actually from engineering background who joined Singapore Airlines, they were pilot, they were load master, they were air traffic controllers, they were even experts on the ground who actually can man and tow an aircraft with the equipment, whether it's unmanned vehicle, towing vehicle, ataupun with a manned towing vehicle. So the scope is quite wide in the aviation industry on the whole. Where do I see this taking to the next level for aviation is, I'm sure you all have seen it, the aviation in the future, 10 years from now, 20 years from now, even in this country and globally, is going to see us flying to the space. It's already a reality when Richard Branson already launched a space program to commercialize. So this is going to be a great job opportunities. I have personally written to him and he has responded to me, even interested to set up a capsule in Southeast Asia, and he doesn't mind looking at Malaysia. So those are the scope of area that we're looking at even in the future in expanding travel ataupun aviation to the next level. So it's no more just flying from Subang to Langkawi or KLIA to KK and Kuching anymore. The engineering aspect, but even in the front of technology development and re-engineering aspect that I've just mentioned, retrofitting, refurbishing works, modification works that is growing. Can I touch one point here? You must have noticed earlier in the video, was only for a short second, you saw someone was washing the aircraft. Everybody thought washing an aircraft just like washing our car, but it's actually no. It takes our aircraft, I've got about 6 of them now in Subang Sky Park trained to wash an aircraft. It took them 6 months before they can actually physically wash an aircraft on their own to be trained, because there is an area where the water cannot go in. There's an area where the radar and the radome is that where you cannot physically spray water. The pressure of the water has to be equal so that you don't scrape the paint or damage the aircraft. So that is how meticulous it is, even for the extent of washing an aircraft. Okay, it comes with a price. After we put in so much aspect of training, And when we are ready, now Subang Sky Park wash, I am proud to say we wash about 25 to 35 aircraft a year, and all the aircraft that we wash comes in from Singapore, Indonesia, Thailand, Brunei, not just Malaysia I'm talking about. And why I'm saying this is it's an interesting avenue by itself. To wash one aircraft going to cost the owner between 5,000 ringgit to 10,000 ringgit. That's how expensive it is. And the duration required to wash the aircraft is probably half a day to one whole day. When I say one whole day here is probably from 8 a.m. to about 6 to 7 p.m. That's how long it takes to wash the aircraft from the wheelbase right up to the top flap. That is an example. So if you're looking at many aspects in aviation, I can just go on and on and on. As I was saying earlier, because this is one industry, when I joined, I realized that the value in aviation is not just Malaysia, but it's global. Our value, our CV is global, and we will also be able to earn in foreign exchange. So you have seen or you must have heard most of our best pilots, best engineers today are actually powering Singapore Airlines, are actually powering Emirates, are actually powering Qatar Airways, Etihad, all the best airline in the world. So they are partly, most of them behind the scene are partly Malaysian. So that's how robust is that industry scope is on the whole. If before I go on, if you all have any other, I was told my session is 1 hour. Okay, I've got another half an hour. If you all have any other questions so far, before I can just migrate to the next area where we can talk about some of the other interesting areas such as hangars, MRO, the potential of MRO in Malaysia, the region, and the demand for MRO capable engineers for this region, and the demand for MRO in business aviation, general aviation, and commercial aviation. So before I go there, so I'd like to hear if there's any comments from any one of you, any questions from any one of you.
So I have a question
Yes, please.
about the airplane. You need some precision methods to wash the aircraft, right? If I say that there is a small scratch when we wash the airplane, does it really affect the performance of the aircraft?
Is that Ahmad
Like
Arif, right?
just a small scratch, like you take. My name is Haikal.
Oh, hi, Haikal. Sorry. I lost you in the beginning. Did you ask me if there's a small scratch?
When we wash the airplane, if the workers are not very careful, the worker may scratch the paint, right, of the aircraft. So if
Correct.
that happens, does the performance will be affected?
Okay. Good question. Very good question. First and foremost, yes, the performance of the company will be affected where we will be claimed against the compensation, either insurance or we need to compensate for the damage caused. So here we may need to send the aircraft to the MRO organization for a quick inspection to see how severe is the damage and to fix if it's required. And secondly, to exercise on the insurance coverage. Two, your question was, will it affect the performance of the aircraft? To some extent, if the impact of the water pressure was switched to a moderately high pressure level, yes, it will cause a damage to the aircraft. One physical sign of us identifying this, you could see a dent on the aircraft body. Sometimes if you just walk across the aircraft, you could see other dent, like 5-cent coins, 20-cent coins. Those are probably sometimes because of the impact of the water pressure, or even during flight, where the aircraft lost some of its aerodynamic during headwind or turbulence. So yes, it will affect the performance for sure, but up to today, what we have come across were the minor incidents where the paint just peel off. So those are the minor rectification required, which we need to basically send the aircraft for repainting again on the spot.
Sir, can I ask
Yes.
you a question?
Yes.
So my name is Aiza. If I want to be a part of chemo department, do I need to have any certificate from OEM, maybe?
Yes, indeed. For you to be a chemo, first you need to be certified by the either OEM, the airline itself, because you will have to be able to fall into one of the syllables, either the airline syllables. For instance, let me just quote Malindo here. Malindo operates ATR 72-600 and Boeing 737 800 and 900. So you will be able to fall under the syllabus and the chemo department in Malindo. So then you will be given a certificate by Malindo to operate as a certified chemo under the chemo for 73800 or ATR 72. So that's how it takes. So your question is, if you were to be a chemo for general type of aircrafts, then yes, you will need to be certified by Boeing or Airbus. Then you will have the range of type of aircraft under the manufacturer's brand.
Afternoon, Mr. Aris. Afternoon.
Afternoon.
Can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
I'm Nick Rosley. I just would like to read one of our student question from our chat box. It's talking about aviation industry will keep growing out in future, and then many aircraft will be created. And then what about the environmental issue? I mean, how to control CO2 emission, for example, when we develop more aircraft? Thank you very much.
Thank you, Jenik. I'm just looking at the chat box. Yes, if the aviation industry will keep growing in the future and more airplane will be created, how are they going to handle the CO2 produced by these airplanes, which will affect the environment? To be honest, until today, I think at large, the industry players are still trying to crack their head on this. The largest component of this emission is the jet fuel. So that is the main area we're still trying to identify. Although we look at all the smaller aspect of the performance, like on the ground, whether we use more environment friendly ground support equipment, the best way to dispose the aircraft hydraulic and lubricants. But I think the major component or the major contributor to this is actually the jet fuel. There are many ideas and research being put in place, battery, even to some extent electrical plane, etc. But none has yet come into reality. So it's still in a research stage or design stage.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Mr.
I also saw a second one, says jelaskan perbezaan engineer yang ambil DCA license compared to engineer macam kami from university and the job scope. Okay, there's two different thing here. Okay, number one, let me just clarify. DCA is no longer called DCA. Department of Civil Aviation. Now it's called. It's being corporatized. It's now called Civil Aviation Authority of Malaysia, CAAM. Okay, in short, it's called CAM. And CAM is a regulatory and an authority, just like our JPJ. So it's a regulatory and authority. So an engineer under CAM will be an inspector, will be inspectoring and will be auditing aircraft engineering aspect of every airline, commercial airline under Malaysian AOC. AOC here is Air Operating Certificate. What is Air Operating Certificate? Is the license given to an airline to operate and carry passengers and cargo. So those are Malaysia Airlines, Firefly, Air Asia, Malindo, etc. Where else compared to engineers, fresh engineers from university and with the scope open, so your journey is wide open out there. You can choose the field of commercial airline, business aviation, even military, defense, or just an MRO, maintenance repair organizations, engineering, because an MRO organization will be catered to handle all kind of aircraft. To give you an example, Sepang Aerospace Engineering does all type of Airbus aircraft. Malaysia Airline Engineering does all type of Airbus and all type of Boeing. So if you're looking at your job career in the perspective of Sepang Aerospace Engineering or Malaysia Airline Engineering, then your license and your expertise and your knowledge will be in 10 years down the road, scope-wise and experience-wise will be very wide, because you will be able to handle 777, 787, Airbus 340, Airbus 330, 737, and the range. So that is the advantage in it. So if you're looking at maintenance, repair, overhaul organization, they are a business of repairing and maintaining and repairing an aircraft. So they will always they will have more than one certification or more than one type of certification, and not forgetting that they will also have approval from every civil aviation authority of every country, not just Malaysia, Singapore, Thailand, UK, etc. So you will be able to understand the maintenance requirement of every country, because it's not the same. Yeah, some countries do not allow stage 2 aircraft anymore. Stage 2 aircraft is those aircraft without TICAS or with extended TICAS, but some countries do allow. So there's a lot of requirement in engineering aspect, especially when you're in MRO organization, as compared to if you're in civil aviation as an auditing engineer. Okay, next I would like to just take us a little bit further from where I've just touched. Okay, I will talk a lot about commercial. Now I'm just going to give you a bit of an overview about business aviation and general aviation. Can someone tell me what is the difference between commercial and business aviation and general aviation? Anyone out there wants to give a try?
Difference antara civil dengan military aviation.
Okay, lebih kurang. Okay, business aviation and general aviation bukan military. Civil and military is okay. Business aviation, general aviation is under civil. Sorry.
General aviation is unscheduled flight.
Correct, unscheduled flight. Business aviation pula is an unscheduled flight, but it's not a commercial aircraft. Yeah. BA and GA are normally the unscheduled flights, non-military flights. What are BA and GA? In short, is the flying academy, flying clubs, helicopters, non-scheduled flights, like if I were to mention some of the names, if you could remember, our local names would be Sabah Air, Hornbill Airways. Yeah, those are the names that actually are unscheduled flights. BA is a business aviation, predominantly is private jets. Yeah, private jets like the Bombardier, Gulfstream, Falcon from Dassault, Embraer, which is like a private car. So it's just a private jet that being used by a corporate company or an individuals to fly from one place to another fast, and to also be able to serve the certain aspect of the industry. Okay, BA&GA here is also serving the most important industry here that BA and GA is serving is the medical evacuation. BA and GA save a lot of life around the world, because BA and GA is also an flying ambulance. So if you come across people required an emergency mobilization from one country to another for medical treatment, this is where it's done by BA and GA. They actually fly it on a helicopter, on a medical evacuation private jet for immediate medical treatment. And usually these are fully paid by the insurance company of their own personal insurance. That's the difference between BA and GA and commercial. Allow me to just describe the future of BA and GA to you all. BA and GA is a beginning of the paradigm for Malaysia. We are not like commercial, yeah. Commercial, we have been in Malaysia travel. Everybody started opting to business aviation. Everybody started buying jet. Everybody started leasing a jet, one way or another, because the need for travel is still there, but there is no supply. Uh, People need to travel, tapi tak ada supply to carry, because in and just go to the airport, fly, either you're flying on business class or economy, you can just fly to destination. Even if the aircraft is not serving to that destination directly, they could transit from Dubai or anywhere else to the final destination. When all this disappeared for the last 2 years, people have switched to business aviation. I'm not just saying Malaysia, but I'm saying throughout the world. Statistically, it has proven that you can always Google and see the number of business aviation jet has been produced and sold the last 2 years has surpassed the number of jets sold for the last 10 years. In Malaysia alone, the last 2 years, 2019, 2020, 7 private jet has been delivered, whether it's pre-owned or brand new, for the purpose of easy travel and the demand for travel and easy travel, both to expect. Yes, business aviation is very expensive, because for one to charter a plane and fly, just to fly themselves from point A to B, it's going to be very expensive. But somehow, corporate companies are able to do this because the cost of them running a business and loss of opportunity is a lot more higher than actually chartering one plane to fly from A to B to materialize a contract. So it's why that the classification of private jet is also called business aviation, because it's mainly to serve the business entity. But earlier of this, I don't know if some of you was already on the network earlier when I was talking to Dr. Ali. I was saying that the medical evacuation movement has increased for the last 2 years. We have started flying a lot of patients from Indonesia, Philippines, Thailand to Malaysia for medical treatment. We used to handle like two to 4 flights a day into Subang for medical evacuation. So that's how robust is the growth in business aviation and general aviation. Helicopter is another area. It's still not yet matured in Malaysia, in my understanding, because we see helicopter only when there is an air show, when there's a defense exercise, but really we don't see many helicopters owners here in Malaysia yet, and helicopters will be able to connect us easily to any places that we don't even need an airport or airstrip to land. We could even land on top of buildings if there's a helipad on top. So, and remote locations like jungle and mountain area, as long as there's an open space. So helicopter could be also another area where Malaysia should see a huge growth there. And this is also confirmed by the OEM, the manufacturers of helicopters like Bell, Airbus, Leonardo. They have set up their offices here in Malaysia and also their base here, with the hope that they would want to see the numbers of helicopter usage and ownership in Malaysia to grow. So these are all the futures that you can see where you can fit into in helicopters, business aviation, medical aviation, general aviation, that just more than what you see in commercial aviation as well. Any questions so far? Because I'm going to quickly touch on MRO a little bit. MRO here is about hangarage. I'm sure that you all have probably been to or heard MRO hangars or seen an MRO hangars in the screen. So if there's any question, please. Okay, I'm going to move to MRO. This would be the last but not least some of the scope that I would like to share today. MRO, maintenance, repair, and overhaul would be most interesting subject for all of you here today, because I think every one of you would be seeing that what are the opportunities in MRO. In Malaysia, MRO is one of the future development that even in our national economic footprint under MITI and MIDA, where we foresee that MRO organization from overseas will be establishing a lot of activities here in Malaysia. One main reason to this is we are an English-speaking country. A lot of resources, trained resources available in Malaysia. We have many airports that can support MRO because MRO do not need to be in KLIA. So it's not a very essential for MRO, a big hangar to actually be able to operate from KLIA. MRO can operate from Subang, can operate from Penang, Johor Bahru, Kuantan, even locations like Alostar, Ipoh, etc. As long as the runway can cater for the type of aircraft, because the aircraft that's coming in and going out are usually empty, so it's not with the load. The scope of MRO is also growing in this region. This is pre-pandemic. If we look at pre-pandemic here, the largest number of orders of Airbus aircraft in the world is in this region. And I think all of you know that AirAsia is the largest order. AirAsia has made the largest order of Airbus in this region, or in the world actually, and that is in Malaysia and for Southeast Asia use. The largest order of Boeing 737, 800, 900, and the controversial aircraft 737 MAX. The largest order is also in this region, Southeast Asia. Who lead the order? It's actually Lion Air of Indonesia, ordered more than 200 planes. So that immediately put Southeast Asia as the fastest growing aviation sector compared to any other country in the world. Not forgetting, China is also a largest order in all type of jets, narrow body, mid-size, and long-haul jets. So entirely between North Asia and South Asia, we are looking at almost half of the fleet in the future will actually be on our airspace in the greater Asia airspace. And that is how much demand that we will see in terms of maintenance requirement for all these aircraft. Every aircraft will have to go through a C check and an A check. So that is the demand that we will see. So even we look at some of, even to do our own business forecast for Subang Sky Park, we did a review study with our consultants, PwC, and they have confirmed that MRO will be the future, in at least for the next 20 years in Malaysia. We could see that MRO sector will be growing rapidly. Every hangar will be fully occupied, and there's going to be a shortage of hangars in Malaysia as we speak. I can confirm that with you. Sky Park itself, Sky Park Regional Aviation Centre, RAC, we have 5 hangars on our own. During this pandemic period, I am proud to say that our hangars are 95% occupied. And we have a problem of actually, my problem is actually, or our problem is actually to accommodate more aircraft. We are getting more demand, but we don't have enough hangar space to offer. So it's actually a positive sign, because all these aircraft that coming in and parking, either for short-term, long-term, or preservative parking, are requiring maintenance almost every day. Because just like our car, the aircraft engine needs to be switched on, the aircraft needs to run its APU, the aircraft needs to run its idle engine run to ensure that all the avionics in the aircraft are fully functional. just in case if they want to fly, the aircraft is always ready. So every day it has to be done. Even this morning, I got a message from Hong Kong asking if we have a space to park a plane. So that's how it is. So it's pretty exciting to all of you to see where the future of MRO is going to be, and probably some of you will be essential in this industry in years to come. So don't rule out in the aspect of MRO, and you might see that this is another area that you want to seriously look at, but please don't look at it from the perspective of just fixing and just looking at the aspect of engine work in MRO, yeah, because it have a lot of other components that require, from avionics, critical item, non-essential item, essential items, and even to up to engine. Any questions so far? I think we're coming towards the end of the session. I've got 5 minutes for a quick Q&A.
Sure. We from. Okay, can you hear me? Sir.
Yes.
So we from pure mechanical engineering. So what's the credit or like certification or something that can make us compete the aeronautical mechanical engineer, because they very specifically to aircraft. They already studied it specifically. So how we can like compete to them? Kena ambil certificate ke or anything?
Yes, you have to. As I was saying tadi kan, even to because it's aviation is highly regulated and highly not just regulated within the country but also by many authorities. We have got ICAO, IATA, etc., etc. So most of the field of the aspect of engineering or in general aviation would require training. Sorry. Would require training and certification. Yes, that's true. One way or another, you would require certification by the OEM or by the MRO organization, or even you joining as a intern into an organization and being trained from there specifically to certain aspect of area of engineering, because it's a wide area. You have avionics, non-avionics, you have mechanical, critical or essential and non-essential.
Mr. Haris, yeah, I have one question for you. Like you just mentioned about MRO, does it all the MRO happen at a Skype bar, or some of it you have to send it to other company like Spirit, UPK, or UMW Aerospace? Does it happen at there like that?
Okay, I believe MRO here can be in any airport, so not necessarily Subang Skypark. So it can be in KLIA, Mas Engineering, or Sepang Aerospace Engineering. So secondly, to answer to your question, you mentioned specifically UMW, UPK. Those are component shops. Those are the back-end shops we call in MRO. So when some items, for instance, when the engine is dropped from the aircraft and the engine needs an overhaul, that engine will be taken out and sent to GE at Subang, or even to some other facilities where does like F-oil, etc., that does an engine overhaul. So it's taken out like ATS, air turbine. So they do engine work specifically. Similarly, the landing gear can be dropped from the aircraft with the jack, and the landing gear can be sent to a back shop or the component shop to fix it and then return back to the MRO center for reinstallation.
I think there's one more question in the chat. I think Cik Haris is there any possibility that Malaysia will have its own space program?
Yes, I replied, highly possible with collaboration with US, China, India, or Russia. Even to some extent, we probably could see even some of the private initiative can actually also have a base in Malaysia, like Virgin Space, etc.
Mr. Harris,
Yes,
I have one question actually.
yes, sir.
Space is money in aviation, isn't it? Space is money.
Yes.
Do you have any specific formula to develop aviation? I mean, to consider about cost effective and also customer satisfaction. Do you have any specific formula for that? Cost effective and customer satisfaction.
Customer satisfaction here, in terms of the flying comfort, or
Yes, in terms of flying comfort, yeah, space. They pay for space actually, yeah.
okay, you're talking about the space program here, kan?
No, the space inside the aviation. I mean the seat. They pay. I
Oh,
mean,
okay, okay. All right. If I may share, I need to share of a little bit of Singapore Airlines because that's where I was partly involved. Sectors, long haul sectors require more space comfort for passengers. So in Singapore Airline, in those days, it used to be 747 because 747 used to be the best equipment for long haul back then, when we do not have a 777 or 787. Aircraft that flies to the US, aircraft that flies to Europe will have a better space comfort in terms of seating. So you would realize, as compared to if you take a Singapore airline from KL to Singapore, you will see the economy class seat space. I wouldn't say it's as bad as AirAsia, but you would see a difference. Assuming you're flying KL, Singapore, transit in Changi, going to, let's say, US to further your study, you will see Singapore KL sector, KL Singapore sector, the aircraft is an Airbus 330, but the seat configuration is like, wow, you might be thinking, is this the seat that I'm going to sit all the way to US? But when you transit into another flight in Changi, then you will find, hey, wow, I have so much of space lake. So it's actually the aircraft is being designed to cater to the sector flown. How we identify this is we identify by the aircraft registration number. So we will know which aircraft registration has got how many seats, how many toilets, how big of a baggage compartment area. For example, those aircraft that going to Jeddah, we know we will be carrying a lot of Umrah pilgrims. Our water tank in the toilet, for the toilet use, will be a lot bigger for ablation purposes. And the cargo space will be bigger because when on return we'll be carrying a lot of Zamzam water. Yeah.
Yeah, we have a few more in the chat box, I think. I think even earlier, I think one was asking about Aiza is asking about your point of view regarding medical evacuation can survive in Malaysia. I do not know what does it mean, but I know what is medical evacuation. What does it mean? Does the industry of the company that provide medical evacuation survive? Or I don't understand the question. Can you elaborate, Aiza? What does you mean by this? In your point of view, mean that medivac can survive in Malaysia? What do you mean? The person survive or the company survive or what?
The company sebab as I know that Medivac in Malaysia dia ada tapi dia macam tak di-commercialkan something. So macam in the point of view of Mr. Haris, kalau kita buat Medivac dekat Malaysia and then bukan dekat area Sabah Sarawak but more to Semenanjung, boleh survive. So,
Thank you for the question, Aiza. The Medivac here for Malaysia ni sebabkan if you're talking about Peninsula, all the cities in Peninsula are well connected with the highway, and we have specialist hospital and even our Ministry of Health facilities are fully equipped in most of the major states like Johor Bahru, Malacca, you name it, all the main cities in every state. So Medivac operation within Peninsula will be a tough challenge because people could find an alternative fast response for medical treatment within their locality. So someone who's in Perlis can easily rush to any hospitals in Alostar area or in Kedah. So likewise to even Penang. Medivac, where we are talking about here, is actually promoting Malaysia's medical facility under the pretext of medical tourism through government agency called Malaysia Health Travel Council, MHTC, which is under MOTEC, Ministry of Tourism, Art and Culture, to promote this as another source of revenue for the country, pendapatan. So what we do is, the promotion and marketing memang betul we don't do in Malaysia because our market segment that we are targeting is the Indonesians, the Philippines, the Thai, to actually fly into Malaysia on a medical treatment, whether it's an emergency or whether it's pre-planned for their medical treatment. So if any one of you are from Malacca and if you have been to Malacca Airport, you would see Malindo Air fly from Pekanbaru to Malacca, and predominantly all the passengers are going to Makota Hospital. The reason being is we support a lot of medical tourism into the country. So the objective of the medical tourism here, or the Medivac evacuation here, is to target the neighboring countries. So aliran wang masuk ke negara. So we want to actually tap on the revenue into the country to support the tourism, to support the medical facilities, and essentially the Medivac aircraft is also available to transport someone urgently. Kata someone is now having a heart failure, we could straight away transport them from any hospital in Indonesia, fly them on a Medivac aircraft with a doctor and nurse inside the aircraft and fully equipped all the way to Subang Airport and immediately transfer them to Prince Court, what do you call that? Any other hospitals in Klang Valley, like Gleneagles, etc. here, Columbia Asia, some of these hospitals. That even Institute Jantung Negara, we send a lot of patients from Indonesia to our IJN for medical treatments. But our medical facilities is well known di Asia Tenggara, and people have a confidence to actually pay and fly here for medical treatment.
Thank you. Thank you, Charis. Hope it answers to you, Aiza. Okay, we have also, due to situation of COVID, how airline services handle financially and how about the employees? I think, have you answered that, Charis? Okay. From Najwa Zagira.
Sorry, switch on the mic.
Huh? Oh, Charis, can unmute. Okay. Charis?
Yes.
Okay, there's one from Najwa Zagirah. Have you addressed this one? How the airline services handle financially and how about the employees now?
COVID-19, very interesting.
Yeah.
I will have to say that I have took a pay cut myself. It's a temporary measure. It has been reinstated just like few months back. Yes, everyone in aviation industry were affected by the pandemic. It's not something that we are prepared. It just goes to any industry. Hotel industry suffered the most, and we have seen many other industries as well, manufacturing including. So we are all not being ruled from this to be true. So we are all affected one way or another. However, as I was saying earlier, in Subang Airport, we've seen that activities of the commercial flights and the business aviation and general aviation grown the last 2 years. This has become a new enabling opportunity for us because when the demand for commercial is no longer available, everyone is now rushing to opt for a business jet travel, medical evacuation, helicopters travel from point A to point B to take them around. So to answer to you, yes, the COVID-19 has affected the aviation industry. Many of our friends out there has lost their job. So it has been a tough time for all of us in the industry. Nevertheless, now we could see with the revival in the whole economy that you could see that the aviation is coming back. Airline now has started posting a shortage of pilot, shortage of engineers, shortage of cabin crew, etc., etc. So it's probably going to be back in probably by second quarter next year. I think we will start seeing even borders opening. So that will be a positive sign for all of us in this industry, not just aviation, but any industry.
Okay. Thank you, Charis. I think it's also covered the question asked by Wan Haziq Idham. Is that true in the field of aircraft and aviation? It is very difficult for job opportunities in Malaysia, especially during this pandemic.
Yes, you might find that when there is no business opportunity for all the industries, especially when the aircraft is not flying, when aircraft is not flying, all the aircraft has been mothballed. When aircraft is mothballed, maintenance work does not required to be carried out. So it's a chain reaction, kan? So you will see that a lot of Earths are affected one way or another in aviation on the whole. Even Petronas can supply a jet fuel, so they have a huge storage of jet fuel, but they cannot supply this to anyone because aircraft is not flying. So all of us, one way or another, affected by it. And the good sign is, I think this is an opportunity for us, for the country, for us as a Malaysian. We have enabled ourselves. We have managed to survive from this. So we will be more prepared in the future. If there's any pandemic to hit, we'll be more prepared, more ready on how to handle crisis and even how to handle ourselves and even the industry, such as aviation, tourism, etc.
Thank you, Charis. There's another one from Wan Ahmad Balia bin Wan Mat. Dalam industri penerbangan Malaysia, apakah kebiasaan kepakaran yang ditawarkan dalam syarikat tempatan selain penyelenggaraan? So, what are other specialization besides maintenance?
Banyak. Macam saya maksudkan tadi earlier, we need to see all the activities carried out dalam sesuatu penerbangan before the flight. So before engineering comes in, before the pilots takes off over the flight, aircraft need to be weighed and balanced. What is weigh and balance is we need to check berapa jumlah passenger dalam pesawat, berapa banyakkah muatan minyak pesawat perlukan for that route, and whether the fuel is enough kalau ada bad weather. So all this involve a lot of calculation, and this is done by the operation control room ataupun flight operation we call it. And before the aircraft fly, kita kena dapatkan permit. Otherwise, you might come across an incident. A foreign country might just shoot the plane down because it will be seen as an unverified or unverified source of aircraft entering into their airspace. So there's a lot of people actually putting their effort to make sure sebelum aircraft to depart daripada any airport lah for that matter. whether it's on before departure or even if it's after arrival. So to answer to you there, there's a lot of kepakaran required. Like I was saying earlier, air traffic controller, one of which. Aircraft ground management, ground operation is one of which kepakaran juga. Flight plan department is satu kepakaran. Operation control center, operation control room, planning the route. Why planning the route is so important is economy. Jadi kita tak membazir minyak to make sure aircraft tu fly dalam route yang paling cost efficient. Dan kalau ada any cuaca that kita dah boleh, now with the technology we will already be boleh predetermine where is the bad weather, kita boleh elakkan bad weather tu, so boleh mengelakkan turbulence dan sebagainya. So it's also safety as well as cost saving. So banyak kepakaran dalam konteks of aviation ni memang luas.
Thank you, Cik Haris. There's a few more. Hold on. Because I keep on admitting students, they keep going out and in and out, in and out. I think because of the unstable internet connection.
I believe, yeah.
I believe, yeah. Okay, how does the COVID-19 pandemic affect the aviation industry? I think you have answered that. Is it true that job opportunities in aviation fields are demanding right now? From Irfan.
Is it true the job opportunity in aviation field are demanding right now?
I think in demand.
Well, it is in demand. It start to grow, macam I just mentioned earlier. Now that with the revival of travel segment, domestic is now open, so we already start to see some vacuum there, shortage of resources, because earlier when all these people were out of job, retrenched, or even suspended for the time being, so they are now coming back. The moment the border is open for international, you will see a huge jump for where you will see a lot of articles appearing for job vacancies, etc.
I think the last one from Aiza, we can convert LAE license from EASA to EASA to Malaysia. I think yes, because yes, but you have to sit for the exam.
Correct.
Yeah, this is all they have to sit. Of course, Malaysia is using EASA, but you still have to sit for exam with CAM. So the same thing just now. I think someone was asking about RAM,
Yes.
RMAF. Of course, they need to go for Ahmad Farisuddin, Solihin. So RMF need to have proper license such LAE. If for military, they have to go with RMF training, and they be certified by RMF itself because they have their own training officer. But if they want to service commercial, they still have to go with CAM. So I think that is on the licensing. So I think Haris also has mentioned several times about the regulation that for commercial, we have to go with
My advice to all of you, keep the options wide open. Don't just limit yourself towards the engineering scope. Just because you have done engineering, not necessarily you will only fit into engineering. You have to keep your scope wide open out there. Tak semestinya because you are from mechanical engineering and every job employment that comes out, you only need to look at mechanical engineering scope ataupun scope that revolve or involve dengan engineering. There's so many out there. You may be much better in doing that scope. Although you have mastered in mechanical engineering, you could be a best ATC. You could be a best pilot sometime. You can be someone best in contributing to fuel efficiency for airline in terms of route calculation. So don't rule out to just a limited scope.
Thank you so much, Haris. Thank you for reminding that, because I had also last time when I had a student when they joined aviation company, they thought that they're just going to be all engineers, and they got upset. They called me, I graduated from so and so high class, high 5-star university and all that. You just asked me to do logistic or to do procurement, but we need engineers to do procurement for aviation company. We cannot just hire anybody, without the engineering background. But like I said, thank you so much. I think everybody can hear that not necessarily you have to you have a mechanical degree that you wants to become an engineer, specifically just become licensed engineer or very technical, but actually we employ in logistic, transport and logistic and so on. So yeah, hope whatever you have given have changed their mindset, because otherwise they think, okay, I am an engineer, I'm a mechanical engineer, I only want to do mechanical engineer job, the technical job and so on. But there are actually, we need engineers to do even all logistic, logistic management, scheduling, research and so on. So thank you, Cik Haris, for open their mindset on this particular area, because otherwise, like even safety, to become OSHA officer and so on. The reason I speak to this is because I have only 60 students that I can explain tomorrow or on Monday, but the rest is another 500 or 550 students I cannot explain to them, okay, on this issue. Any more question from the floor to Encik Aris before we end the session? I guess that's it.
Yeah, I guess so far. But anyway, I have my email address at the top of the chat box today. So should you all have anything that you want to ask further, or you want to drop in your CV in the future, I do welcome. I'm someone always encouraged for the next generation to build this nation and to take this aviation industry to next level. And I'm always be there to be more than happy to help out wherever possible. Doctor, if I can, a quick word of encouragement is please don't limit yourself because of engineering, mechanical engineering. So it doesn't end there. Please don't ever shut the opportunity. Please look beyond what you could see. If your field of interest is aviation, look at everything that's available under the pretext of aviation. It's wide open out there. Don't limit yourself at all. I'm saying this from my own personal experience. Um, Obviously, you have seen my CV, and I'm mastered of logistic and supply chain, but I've never done logistic and supply chain at all. I am today managing an airport, so don't limit yourself at all.
One last question, Cik Haris. Is it true that people yang rabun tak boleh jadi pilot?
I think it depends on how rabun it is. So in the past, yes. In my time, kalau pakai cermin mata tak boleh jadi pilot. Yes, that's what they used to tell. I think now with the current technology, I've seen some pilots actually wearing spectacles. So I don't think it's casted on the stone that kalau rabun. Tapi it is very important to see what is the ability of eyesight, because I think to some extent it's the visibility is tu pun important. So I can, in short, I can say it's not a stopper. It does not end there, but I'm sure there is a way to even rectify rabun these days. There's a lot of technology, medical technologies now.
Yeah, Dr. Bulan said can buat laksik. Yeah, it's correct. I concurred with Fikri Haziq. My brother pakai cermata can be pilot for MAS. He said pilot need to have backup spectacle when he flight is through. Yeah, my neighbor also is Air Asia pilot. He wears spectacle. Like I said, it was the old time that once you wear spectacle, they don't take you. But now I think it's not an issue anymore. Especially if you are a senior, they still allow you to fly. Okay, thank you, Fikri, for concurring on that.
So I guess we got a pilot in the house now.
Yeah, you got a pilot in the house. So like I said, nothing stopping you if you pakai spec mata ke apa ke contact lens ke, you still can be a pilot. Except I'm not so sure about colorblind lah. Colorblind, I couldn't answer on that lah. I think colorblind still a lot of limitation to them lah. I think so. Those who are colorblind. Okay. Any other question? Any other question before we leave? We have another 2 more minutes before we end our session. Okay, ada satu lagi. Muhammad Afiq Aizat. At the start of the meeting, you said something about personal flying vehicle in terms of infrastructure. Do we need a new infrastructure to be established to accommodate such innovation?
Yes, I do. There is going to be a future coming ahead of us. Not very far from now, 10 years, I would suppose, we will see whether it's an unmanned flying machine or even a flying car will be flying just over our head or on top of our house. The thing is, what we have not been very clearly um, underline into the aspect of the future here is technology is already available. Development is taking place in some of the countries. People have already started the prototypes. What is not very clear is the regulatory. So I was saying that the regulatory is something that personally I feel is going to happen. It's just a matter of time. How is our regulatories like CAM, yeah, DCA ataupun now it's called CAM, Civil Aviation Authority Malaysia, is going to regulate this? How is Ministry of Transport going to regulate this? How our Ministry of Defence, PDRM, is going to regulate this? Because it could be also a nuisance sometime, right? Because when you see a lot of flying objects on top of our house, it could also impose to some extent security, safety, etc. So how are the authorities going to regulate this? So that's what I was saying. Those are the infrastructure that need to come in place. As far as airport, I think our country has been blessed with some of the best airport that we have with sufficient runway, etc. So I don't think it's going to be an issue, but I think regulatory, how high you can fly, how low you cannot fly, how close to someone's property you cannot fly into, etc. So what are the law will come in place? So those are the things that may need to be drawn up by our authorities.
Thank you very much, Cik Haris.
Yeah.
Okay, there's also a few more about, student are very much interested when you mention about drone. Okay, drone will be under aviation industry in future, and any technologies to introduce to prevent accident like MH370. Okay, I also included that for those who are interested, Cik Haris, I think you also will be hosting Selangor Aviation Show. I put the website here. Yeah, so UiTM also will be presenting. Okay, from mechanical we will be presenting from TTC. So please come. Our booth is number 11. I think Cik Haris also will be opening a booth there. So
no, I'm the venue owner. So
dia the venue owner. Tokia dia nak minta diskaun, minta kat Cik Haris.
You can come and see me and have a physical interview, no problem.
Nak masuk apa nama Cik Haris, executive lounge or VIP lounge, minta kat Cik Haris. It will be during your semester break. 22nd until 27th of
25th until 27th.
Yeah, 25th. But their semester break is between 22nd. So
I see. Okay.
So they are free if they are around. They can attend Selangor Aviation. Mechanical pun ada masuk. Our booth at number 11. And like I said, Cik Aris is the owner, the ground owner. So and then you can meet him. Okay, Cik Aris, we have another 2 more questions. Does drone will be under aviation industry in the future?
Does drone will be under aviation industry in the future? I think it is already in the highly being deliberated now. To some extent, I cannot remember what is the height. They were saying if it's not flying more than 2-story of our. Can you remember how high was it?
Yeah, but if you're flying not more than 300 meter or 100 feet, then it must be regulated. And if it's carried more than 20 kilo, is regulated.
Correct. Yeah. From what I heard from my some of my friends in CAM, they actually they have a workshop actually or doing all this feasibility study about how they planning to regulate drone. So drone will be flying even higher in future. Remember, e-commerce companies like even courier companies already started exploring with the idea of sending parcel using drone. So it's just about matter of time now. Eventually, it's meant to happen. But like I was saying earlier, how is our authority going to regulate it? So what are the regulation in place? How high can it fly, or how low it cannot fly? So that is what it has to put in place now. I read another question. Is there any technologies introduced to prevent any accident like MH370? Whoa. 370 is
A bit sensitive. This we can't
it's
discuss.
it's a good question. I think no one could answer this mystery of 370 until today. Although there's many versions that I've seen, I've read. Oh no, sorry, I've heard, I've seen also. Yeah, I've seen on YouTube, etc. But I've read really. But I think we have all the technology in place. You must have known that all the engines has got a GPS reading. The aircraft itself has got it. Our country has got all the radar in all our borders to actually detect on any aircraft flying on our airspace or even out of our airspace. Um, I really can't answer this though. I love to answer, but I really can't answer this.
Yeah. Is quite a very sensitive. Even last time when we had the DG of CAM or DCA last time, Datuk Sri Azharuddin, he doesn't also want to take the question. He doesn't want to answer that. So it's a bit sensitive lah. So
Yeah, it is.
yeah, it's a bit sensitive. So we have to let it be lah. And okay. So there's a lot of version and also theory, conspiracy theory and so on. Okay. And any other question today before we adjourn? So like I said, we welcome you to Selangor Aviation Show on the 25th until the 27th. Like Cik Haris will be around because he's the host. Okay. Any other question? Maybe there, I think you can explore yourself. Cik Haris, during the Selangor Aviation Show, you can explore all kind of opportunities, all kind of industries. I think it's good for your future job employment, your potential company. When you attend this air show, then you can understand more, you can interact with them, you can ask a lot of questions, you can touch the aircraft. I think they're going also to have on the site, is it aircraft to be displayed on the tarmac and on the runway. So there's a lot of opportunities. So you are coming back to Shah Alam, at least you have a venue to go during your semester break. Okay, any other question? Dr. Bulan, Dr. Nick, Dr. Ali, before we adjourn? I think Dr. Baljit has also given the attendance and also the evaluation form. Appreciate that if you could fill out the attendance and the evaluation form. If not, shall I pass it to Dr. Nick? Dr. Nick to wrap up? Oh, I apologize for the video tadi. It was technical problem. I didn't unmute my my screen. So I couldn't hear the music. Okay. My apologies.
Okay,
Dr.
thank
Nick?
you. Thank you very much, Dr. Wan, and also thank you very much, Mr. Harris, for, I think to me, it's a great opportunity to be here today to learn or to listen from experts talking about aviation. And hopefully our student gain a few knowledge, or gain something we cannot hear from our lecture, we cannot read from any book and so on. We just listen from what is so-called real story. Through real experience from Mr. Harris. And then the most important thing, what I can say here, we do not have to limit ourselves. Yes, we know we are going to compete with other students when we join or when we apply for aviation and so on. But they won't leave it to other what is called human resource to choose who they want. But for us, we just gain more knowledge as much as possible and prepare ourselves and we know where to go. And then from discussion, a great discussion this afternoon, we can see a lot of opportunity in aviation. It's talking about overhaul, it's talking about maintenance and so on. And in fact, we also have capability in terms of what is called design or creativity in order to improve the existing engine, for example, to improve the internal combustion engine efficiency. And the most important thing there, talking about economy, for example, space, comfort, and so on, and so related. But sometimes we try to limit ourselves. We as a mechanical engineer, so we want to work in that particular area only. As what is a good example shown by our speaker just now, Mr. Harris, talking about logistics, master in logistics and so on. Yes, he focus more on aviation management at the moment, but of course, logistics also related to the aviation as long as what we so called know our strength. And then we use that particular strength. We not use our content. We use our skill. We use our critical thinking skill. We use our what is so called hard working. We use our what is so called communication skill and so on in our future what is so called career development. We not use our content. Let's say we as a mechanical engineer, we 100% rely on our technical skill and so on. Actually, as a student, before we go further, we must rely on our strength. What is your strength? Maybe communication skill, maybe critical thinking, maybe your teamwork, leadership, and so on. That's really what is so called matter for us to explore more, to gain more, to move forward. And then thank you very much, Mr. Harris, because Mr. Harris raised a lot of issue here. We can say as something like we consider as a motivation talk as well. For us to go further, of course, we need to gain more knowledge from our senior, more knowledge from our mentor, and so on. And then he did share with us talking about email and so on. And to me, I'm strongly suggested you use that particular email to consider as your future mentor. Use Mr. Harry as your mentor for your future development later on, and ask him and gain some knowledge from him, and hopefully you gain something useful from him you cannot get from anyone in our faculty on our university and so on. Because what? Because everybody has their own what is called skill, talent. We are human, unique. Everybody has their own expertise or skill and so on. Mr. Harris also has their own skill, and I what so called totally agree what Mr. Harris mentioned about aviation, about industry, about demand, and so on. And hopefully, we can open our mind to move forward in order for us to develop our career development in future. And of course, before we go there, we have to prepare. We have to prepare ourselves. Find what we so-called requirement, or find any basic requirement for us to prepare before to join, or before to end up, or before to penetrate aviation industry. I think that's all. Thank you very much, Mr. Harris, Dr. Wan Mazina, and also all our students. And from the question, which is we can hear from your voice, and also we can read from our chat board, it look like engagement, it's like involvement in our what we so called discussion today is great. Even 2 to 3 p.m. is very challenging time, because we got many activity, best activity rather than we listen to our discussion, we engage with our discussion and so on. But Mr. Harris bring us a what is so called a good topic, a good opportunity and so on, to make our eyes 100% open without any what is so called delay and so on. And then that is a great what is so called opportunity for us to gain. And at the same time, thank you very much, Mr. Harris, again for giving us a great opportunity and knowledge and real story for us. And hopefully, I also gain a lot today. I also learn a lot from Mr. Harris today. At least we have to not limited our knowledge within our area only. I think that's all. Thank you very much for your cooperation. Our student is great technician ask a question and also gives opinion and so on. And we really appreciate your engagement. And if in future when you join the industry, the two what is called moment, the best moment for you to show to present your talent. The first one during interview, the second one during meeting. Use these two events in your life when you join industry. The first one talking about interview, the second one talking about meeting. Interview and meeting is a great opportunity for you to show who you are, to show your strength, and to show your ability to your future so-called employer. I think that's all. Thank you very much. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh, and very good afternoon. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Dr. Nick, for the closing remark. Thank you. Okay. Thank you, Haris. Thank you. Hope to see you again.
Thank you. Likewise. See you all in the Selangor show.
Okay, Selangor show, inshallah.
Thank you, Jari.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you, Jaris.
Bye. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you, Jaris.
Thank you.
Jaris.
Thank you, Jaris.
Welcome.
Thank you so much, Jaris.
Thank you, Jaris.
Thank you, Charis.
Thank you, Charis.
You, sir.
Sama-sama.
Lifeline.
Kau gelap apa, Magat?
Masing-masing dah boleh left daripada ni.
Kita